Hi, everyone. Welcome to How to Live an Extraordinary Life. So I had a great speaking engagement this morning about how to live an extraordinary life, and I wanted to share that with you. So I know I'm just going live here. I'm going to give people a few minutes to join in. I know it's Saturday night. People are probably getting ready for the Super Bowl. I'm excited, looking forward to being on that. So we didn't exercise early on. So before I jump into that, let me introduce myself a little bit. And I want to say hi to anybody who's joining the webcast, and if not the webcast, the Periscope. If you are watching, I invite you to let some other people know, let your followers know. I appreciate it. So, how to live an extraordinary life. There are 5 keys, and I'm going to reveal to you what the 5 keys are. But before we do that, I actually want to have you think about what's the quality of the life that you're living right now. I had the people I was actually speaking at the Junior League of Phoenix. And so let me just say something about the Junior League. When I was a young girl, I'd heard about the Junior League, but it was always this like high society kind of thing, and nothing that I was quite sure I really belonged in or wanted to participate in. But I got invited to speak to them, and I thought, well, that would be a really good idea because I actually know some people who are in the one here in Phoenix. And my being there, I got a totally different perspective of the kind of women that are involved. So I was probably the oldest person there, and my sense was there were going to be a lot of old women, and I was probably the oldest one there. So there were a lot of young, energetic, dynamic women, people working in corporate America, women who had their own businesses. It was a really fabulous group, and I had a really great time. So one of the first things that we did was evaluate the different aspects of our life. And I handed them a little worksheet. I don't know that you can read all of these, so I'll just tell you what the categories are. And as I'm going through them, I'd like you to rate yourself. So in terms of how happy and satisfied you are with that particular aspect, you could either rate yourself a 1 or a 10. So 1 or 0 is it's totally absent, nothing's happening good, and something should be happening better than what is going on right now. And if things are going really well in that area, then you would rate yourself a 10 on that. So, uh, so here are the different categories. So the first one is purpose. How strongly is your life being guided by some purpose that you have? See, one of my beliefs is that we all have gifts, and my vision is that every person recognizes what their gifts are and that they're expressing those gifts in pursuit of a kind of a higher sense of destiny or some fulfillment, actual self-actualization. So I want everybody to own their gifts and to be expressing them in pursuit of being the very best version of themselves that they can. So are you clear about what your purpose is? And so if you are, give yourself a 10. And so write some comments here if you would like to participate, because I'd love to engage with you. So rate yourself. How clear are you about your purpose? Are you living your purpose? Is it guiding you? Are you inspired by it? So 1 to 10, where would you say? 0 to 10. So the next one is personal environment. So that would be your home, your car, your neighborhood, your community, but mostly kind of your home, your office, kind of where you spend your time physically. So now if I rated that one, so my purpose would be, I say I'm probably like an 8 or 9 or even a 10. I'm clear. I am working on what I believe I was put here to do. So what I do, let me back up for a minute. So I help business owners. I help business owners and executives who are exhausted, who are trying to get more visibility and credibility in the marketplace, who are trying to move up the corporate ladder. I help them tap into their gifts and express themselves so that they get the credibility that they're really seeking. And so I'm pretty clear that that's what I'm here for, and I love it, and my clients really resonate with that, and I'm able to get people promoted and help them make more money in their jobs, and I love that, and it makes me feel good. So my purpose is pretty clear, and I am happily engaged in dealing with that. So I would rate that pretty high. So personal environment. Now there's an area where not so great. So right now, if you were to look at my office, it'd be pretty filled up with things because I'm a really creative person. I have a lot of things around me, and yet I know that my mind is more clear when there's more empty space around. So I would clean my office, re-landscape the backyard, because when I look at it, it doesn't really give me joy. When we first moved here, it was kind of beautifully landscaped, and over the years, things have died off, and we haven't really, spent the kind of time that I was thinking we would spend outside, out there, and it doesn't make me happy when I look at it. So in terms of personal environment right now, I would say it's probably more like a 4. So my vision is redoing the backyard, and getting rid of some of the clutter. We have too many things here in the house, and you might find that you have too many things in the house as well. So the other area is money and finances. That's the next one. So how is your money flowing? Are you happy with the amount that you're making? Are you dealing with it well, being productive with it? So I would rate myself probably a like 6 there. So things are working pretty well. I would actually like to have more really consistent income, so I'm still a little fluctuating. So some months I'm like really completely rich, yay! And some months not so much. So I would like a little more consistency there. So how would you rate yourself? Would you say you're really great at that or not so great? Self-expression. Are you expressing yourself? Are you open and honest with people? Are you holding back on ideas and concepts and desires and fears that you have, or are you kind of revealing yourself to the people who are in your life with you? It would help you be even more satisfied if you're not suppressing yourself. And if you are expressing yourself, you'll feel more confident, more heard, more understood, more appreciated. And even if you don't feel more appreciated, you'll feel good just because you're doing what it is that you're saying, the kinds of things that you need to say. So self-expression, where would you rate yourself there? Friends and community. That's really important if you're going to have an extraordinary life. You could be a hermit, but I think hermits are often not that happy. Now, I'm an introvert, so I enjoy people, but they don't feed me like they feed people who are completely extroverts. But I do have a community. I do have friends that I value. I've got some friends from high school that I'm still in touch with. So how would you rate yourself on that? Do you have a community that you find supportive? So 0 to 1, how would you rate yourself? In terms of spouse and romance, are you happy with how your love life is going? So I am married now to my college-era sweetheart that I didn't marry back in college. That's a whole nother story right there. But if, where would you rate yourself? I am really happy with him. He is a very grounded, very loving guy. There were some things I would change because we're all not perfect, right? I'm sure there's things he would change about me too. But overall, I am really happy with how that's going. So spouse, romance, how would you rate yourself? So the next one is family, kind of related to that, but we get to choose who we're in love with and who we're in a relationship with. But our family, we just get born into it. And I'll say at some level, I think we actually do choose which family we're going to get born into, but it doesn't always feel that way, right? So how would you rate your family relationships? Are you happy with them, satisfied with them? Not so much. How would you rate? 0 to 10. Health. Are you doing the things that will help you stay healthy? Eating well, exercising, taking medications if you need that, taking herbs, having the right kind of nutrients in your body. How would you say that? Personal growth. Are you constantly trying to improve yourself? So I believe that one of the reasons that we're here living this life is to continually experience more and new things and to continue kind of deepening our expression of who we are as a person. And there will be ups and downs and trials and tribulations and successes, but I always believe that people grow the most when they're trying to move forward and improve things. So how are you on that path? Are you satisfied with the way that your life is going? Are you doing something specifically to help yourself move forward? So how would you rate yourself there? So the next category is in school, work, career. How are you in your career, are you happy with the job that you have? Are you happy with the boss? Are you happy with the work that you're doing? Are you learning something new so that you can move up or move over or do something new? Because I recognized when I was in HR years and years and years ago that I was spending a lot of time at work, and a lot of people were spending a lot of time at work. And to be at work in a job that you hate just, doesn't make any sense at all. So would you rate yourself happy, satisfied with your career, or are you thinking, I'd like to do something different, and I'm doing something about that? So the other one is mental. Are we clear? Is your mind thinking about productive things? Are you able to think through problems? Sometimes we get so overwhelmed with all of the circumstances of life that it feels like it's a little hard to think. And yet, if we attend to some of those kind of critical issues, we can clear our mind so that we can apply the brains that we have to deal with the situations that we're having to confront on a daily basis. And then the final one is actually really pretty closely related to purpose. And the final category is spiritual. So now I can't see if you're making comments. I would love to see them, but maybe I've got them blocked. I'm so sorry if that's the case. How would you rate your spiritual life if that's important to you? Even if it's not important to you, it might be a 0. Because there might be some things that you rate a 0, but they're not so important to you, so it doesn't really matter. So now that you've got some sense, I'd love to know which ones are you most satisfied with, and which ones do you believe that need some improvement, because we're going to talk about kind of what to do with those next. So pick, 2 or 3 of those categories that you might like to work on, and then think about what would it look like if that particular area were fixed? So let's say my backyard. So if it's re-landscaped this spring and it's beautiful and lush and green, I would look at it and feel happy and satisfied. I'd probably spend more time outside if it's not too hot, because in Arizona it's pretty hot out here. So I want you to put yourself into the future, presuming that the thing that you really want to have happen has happened. And just, make some notes to yourself, either, in a text message or on a piece of paper if you've got some paper by you, and say, if that dimension, if that were better for me, if my relationships were more productive or more satisfying, or if my personal environment made me feel better, or if I felt like I had a better community or a more supportive community around me, what would that be like? What would my life be like? How would it be different? Because that will kind of give you the motivation to actually do something about that. So I have some ideas. So the 5 keys that I said I would talk about are, they're an acronym. And it's renew. So the 5 letters are renew, R-E-N-E-W. So the first one is reveal. And that's what we've just done. So we've just gone through and done a really quick assessment of the parts of our life that we're really loving and the parts of our life that we aren't loving so much. So reveal is the first step. And one of the exercises you can do is what we've just started, kind of evaluate what is working. What am I happy about? What would I change if I could do that kind of easily? So the next thing is then elect. So that is like pick something that you're going to work on and do something about it. Because it's one thing to wish and hope, and then it's another thing to actually take some action, to do something about it. So I was, when I lived in California, actually I was here. But I was working with a woman who had also lived in California. But we were both at a speaking gig, and she was also an entrepreneur and a speaker and a coach, pretty similar to how I work. But she talked about her brother, who always talked about wanting to start a business, and whenever she would ask him about it, his response was, I'm just going to go shoot some hoops with the guys. So he's got this dream in his head and maybe in his heart about starting this business, but when it comes down to doing something, he's got some blocks, and he'd rather go shoot some hoops because that's easy and familiar and comfortable, rather than confront the, geez, I'm not sure how to start a business, what should I do? So how would you, interact with that? Are there any areas in your life where you would love to step forward, but maybe you're being, a little bit hesitant or reticent? You're not quite getting out there in the way that you want to. So revealing the areas where you want to work and then making a commitment, basically, to say, yep, I want to do something different in this area. I'm going to take responsibility for it. I'm not going to blame the world for not handing me the life that I think I should have. I'm going to take a proactive stance for making this happen the way that I want it to go. So a couple of things that you can do is get really clear, identify what your purpose is and have that guide you. You can, make time for yourself. I was talking earlier this morning about how hectic life is and how it seems very different than it was a couple of decades ago when we weren't all so interconnected and had mobile devices and you get emails everywhere. You could kind of manage the demands on you back then, but now there's information coming in all the time. So sometimes you need to really make time for yourself and kind of block out all of the things that are happening so that you can take care of yourself. I was listening to somebody a while ago who actually suggested not to open email up until like afternoon, because generally the emails are going to be somebody else wanting you to do something. And if you start your day responding to all those emails rather than kind of planning out what you really want to have happen, you'll get less of what you want done and probably more of what other people want done. Does that make sense? Cool. All right, so the next step, so the N in renew, so we've covered reveal and elect. The next one is nurture. So that is, once you've got some things in place, do things that will help you move forward. One of which is ask for what you want. So one of my friends, who's also speaker, trainer, coach, we used to do leadership workshops together for women. And one of the things that she would say is that you have to give up the right to be resentful for anything that you haven't asked for. Sometimes people, expect somebody else to read their mind, and then they're upset because they're not getting the kind of treatment or the kind of love or the kind of attention or whatever it is from other people. But if you haven't made clear to them, here's what I want, here's what really floats my boat. I love to hug, and so my husband's not a hugger, so I have to remind him, honey, hug me, I need a hug right now. So I ask for what I want, and he'll kind of cajole me, and but he does hug. He hugs really well. He's just not a hugger. So I have to ask, when I want a hug, it's time to hug, honey. Come hug me. So you need to find areas in your life where you might not be asking for things and make some requests. Not demands, but just requests here, because they may not know. I used to work in HR, and managers would come in my office often and say, I want to fire somebody. And I'd say, well, why? Well, they're not getting their job done. Well, have you talked to them? No, they should just know better. People don't know. People can't read your minds. They don't know what you want. People don't know what I want. So if we're not saying, here's what I need in this particular situation, there's a less likely chance that we're actually going to get it. So ask for what you want. So the next one, the letter in the model, renew, is eject. That's get rid of things. And one of the tips is, clean your literal and figurative house. So get rid of the stuff that's lying around that you don't really need, the energy that's around that you don't really need. You might have to purge some relationships that aren't really being as productive as you might want. And so take a proactive stance and do something. And then the final one is winning. So once you've done, there were a lot of other tips, but in the interest of keeping this scope kind of short, the final letter in the model is win. And that is, when you have taken responsibility for what it is that you're trying to make happen in life. And one of the tips here was to drop the Superman, Superwoman act. And don't pretend like you can do everything, because you really can't. And that it's okay to ask for help. If you have a team around you or family members around you, delegate things to them. I tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist, and so I do try to do a lot of things myself, and I have to sometimes kind of force myself to say, somebody else can do this, and it doesn't have to be me. And so I've actually gotten better with that because I'm, leading a couple of organizations, and I've got a great team around me, so it's quite easy. But I know sometimes you've got teams and it doesn't feel quite so easy. But I would still challenge you to don't try to do everything yourself because you'll just kind of wear yourself out. So, I hope these ideas have given you something to think about, some place in your life where you might make some improvements, and maybe you've gotten a couple of tips. But my recommendation would be to look through the different areas, and I'll just read what they were again. So purpose, physical environment, personal environment, your money and finances, your sense of yourself and your self-expression, your friends and community, your spouse and romance, your family life, your health, your personal growth, commitments, school, work, or career, your mental clarity, your sense of spirituality. So, if you do kind of a routine check of all of those areas periodically, and then make some decisions about how you're going to make that area better rather than waiting for somebody else to make it better, you'll be a lot happier and feel way more extraordinary. So with that, I appreciate you visiting here. I would look forward to the next opportunity to engage, and I'll hopefully see some more comments that I can interact with. So I appreciate you being here, appreciate you sharing this with your friends and followers. So take care, have a great weekend. Yay, Super Bowl! Take care, bye.